Welcome back to The Run. We're talking about the two most experienced whisper candidates on the Republican side. We've covered South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. What about John Kasich? He's currently governor of the swingiest of swing states, Ohio. He said he'd, quote, break the back of organized labor in the schools, but this Rust Belt politician promised to work with, quote, unions that make things. He balanced the budget while cutting taxes, and unlike some hardcore Republican governors, he made the call to expand Medicaid under Obamacare. That blend of priorities echoed his time in the House when he took on defense spending and corporate loopholes just as much as Democratic priorities. Isn't that exactly the honest, no sacred elephants approach that many say the country needs? Heather?
Yeah, well, he says, Kasich rhymes with basic, and I think you basically can't see, a lot of distinction among these candidates. He's very much in line with the Republican Party, especially on the social issues and his Christian values, which seem to be separating him from the rest of the country.
But also, I don't think he gets much credit for what he's done in Ohio, because he said he was going to fight the public sector unions, and he lost. The people of Ohio said, no, we're not having it, unlike Wisconsin. And he was stunned that he lost that, and he had to backtrack. Accepting the Medicaid expansion money, it makes common sense, is common sense, but I think it's because it is a swing state, and it's not strictly conservative. He is also very bad on the social issues. But the common sense approach to the way he's governed, I think, has very much to do with what Ohio is and what the people of Ohio have expressed. I don't think he wanted to face a recall threat like Scott Walker did, so he backed down when the people of Ohio voted to ignore his, attack on the public sector unions.
Okay, so he's been consistently conservative enough for you to hate him on the social issues, and consistently pragmatic enough, as all governors claim to be, to actually get down to the business of governing when that's at a priority. It sounds like you're a perfect guy.
I just
think hate him for the next 8 years.
I think the pragmatism of being in Ohio, that he had to be, or he would have lost. He was not going to be reelected if he had really tried to continue to fight against the will of the people. That's going to hurt him with the primary electorate on the right.
Todd, I know you've got some things to say about John Kasich of Ohio.
Used to think he was swell. He was House Budget Director back when the House was arguably at its sanest, which was the Gingrich House in the late 90s. They almost sounded libertarian in their desire to cut budgets and deregulate.
And managed to work with President Clinton to make the budget balance.
Exactly. Since then, as governor, he has cut taxes, reined in budgets, and boosted jobs by something like 300,000, which is a pretty good track record. On the other hand, I don't consider him reliable, as is often the case with these politicians. You get these glimpses of just how unprincipled they are, and in Kasich's case, that comes when he suddenly does a 180 and defends Obamacare and Medicaid expansion by saying it's unchristian if you disagree with these things. For years, he goes around talking like a free marketeer, and then you're unchristian if you oppose him and Obama.
You can't believe in free markets and Christ?
You certainly can, and apparently he thinks Jesus is always on his side policy-wise. So while he's advocating free markets,
long history of that.
God wants lower taxes,
he's supporting the Medicaid expansion. He has actually said that he would keep the Medicaid expansion and get rid of the rest of Obamacare, which of course makes no sense. And it sounds like
he expanded Obamacare in Ohio.
Yes, but he has
That's
said
one of the reasons why some of the Tea Party Republicans
right,
don't like him.
But he has said if it were up to him, he has expanded Medicaid. He has taken the Medicaid money, and he has said that's the only part of Obamacare he would keep if it were up to him. He would get rid of the rest of it, just keep the Medicaid expansion.
Just the fact he's willing to invoke God whenever he wants to, even as he's switching his econ positions, makes me think this is an unreliable guy who's going to try to haphazardly blend these elements of his philosophy whichever way suits him at the moment for his policy. So he's unreliable. He was fairly good.
He improved the budget in Ohio, right? From 89 cents to 240 million.
There was a lot of
he got a rainy day budget way up.
Money went to Ohio. If you really drill down, it's not him that did it. A lot of stimulus money went to Ohio. He lost the money for the high-speed rail because he refused. He wanted it to be converted to other uses, and he was told no time and again.
Because he realized that
but does America trust a man who was a managing director at Lehman Brothers right when the banks went under?
Well, you can't say that it's his fault.
Yeah, but that's going to come up. That'll be part of the campaign.
if I believe that is one thing. Does America trust him? Can they throw that at him? Absolutely, you can throw that at him.
He's got a great record
primary.
in 1997 on the balanced budget deal. Okay, that eclipses any problems from Lehman. He wasn't responsible for it.
I will say
In the 30-second soundbite world, it doesn't. You could attack him with that, and that's a winning attack.
I will say anyone who prevents high-speed rail projects from happening is probably a somewhat decent guy, and if he campaigned just on that, I might support him more. Just as actually, if I were Lindsey Graham, I would defend Gitmo. By the way, it gets a bad rap, especially from some of my fellow libertarians. But there are only like 140 people left in there, and we know who they are, and they're horrible. And when we release them, they go back to the battlefield.
Many of the people left there have been cleared of any crime. They have been cleared. They are utterly innocent. They've done nothing wrong, and they're languishing there for years because we don't know what to do with them because we've so screwed up the process.
Well, Kasich didn't put them there, though, but he did forgo $350 million in high-speed rail infrastructure that he thought did not make any sense for Ohio. Isn't that just a man sticking to his principles and saying, I'm fiscally conservative, this is not the kind of infrastructure investment my state needs, you can keep your money? Are you going to really run an attack out on him about that as well?
I don't care what he does, because I think he's just not credible as a candidate. I mean, nobody knows who he is, and there's so many ways in which he can be attacked. The Lehman Brothers stuff is one, and I find it. I don't think they're actually even questioning whether he can be in the first primary in August because he hasn't declared. He went out and met with Arnold. Schwarzenegger over the weekend, and apparently it's if he can raise the money, he said he would declare. And so this is the question now. The Republican committee that looks at the primary schedule and stuff. So if he can't get in the first primary, it'll be an interesting question.
Well, that's a real possibility, and we'll find out soon enough. But you say we don't know who he is. We know he's consistently conservative on social issues. We know he's consistently willing to cancel projects that cost money that he is not prepared to.
The nation doesn't know who he is. He's not a household name, right?
Okay.
He's really a largely unknown person across the country.
Being known in the Midwest helps.
Yeah. It's a pretty big swing state. But Heather, you had a point. I'm sorry.
Oh, he is. Sorry, he is known in the Midwest. And America likes an executive. I don't think they have argued their way that it's okay. I don't know about foreign policy. I'll be able to figure out. I have common sense about foreign policy. It's worked in elections in the past. They believe that they like a governor. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these governors emerge.
And he's got the gubernatorial experience on the back of great depth in policymaking and lawmaking experience. There's nobody else in the field who's quite like that.
Yes, if we were in a sane world, he would make an excellent Republican candidate.
He has no real foreign policy
But we're not in a
experience.
sane world anymore when it comes
policy.
to the Republican primaries.
That's true. Do you think that he can get away with picking somebody who's stronger on foreign policy for the general?
That would be smart.
Yeah.
That would be smart.
Okay. One last question about John Kasich is his record on entitlement reform. He's for it, and he's put forward to his peril, and it did not go through, of course, a restriction on Medicare benefits to beneficiaries making more than $75,000 a year. Is that the kind of thing that will, do you think, hurt him? Do you think help him? Where do we stand on this?
Well, I think if he becomes an active candidate and we're really drilling down into what he does, yes, he'll be attacked on that, easily attacked on that.
You don't think the country is ready for entitlement reform any more now than we were
First of all,
20,
they're
30,
not
40
entitlements.
They're not entitlements.
They're social insurance programs. $75,000 a year is not very much at all. And people who are on Medicare actually still have to pay for it, and they're paying for supplemental insurance because they have cut back the benefits over the years. So I don't think anybody's ready to tackle that.
Okay, we've got room for one more response. Anybody on the right or the center?
The Gen Xers and millennials have never believed that Social Security and Medicare will still be there and still be stable.
UFOs are more likely
when
to
they
exist.
get old. Exactly. So you can definitely sell all of those voters on the idea of restricting entitlement payments or reforming them.
So this is the older candidate who can actually bring in the younger demographic.
The elderly are always terrified to see these things reformed on their watch. Younger people are open to the idea.
I disagree. The Gen Xers and the millennials, they don't believe it'll be around, but they want it to be around. They desire it to be around. They're panicking about what they're going to do. Those that think about it, they're panicking about how they're going to pay off their student loans. They don't know how they're going to make it to retirement age and retire. We're going to work till we're dead, and then we're going to have doctor-assisted suicide. I mean, that's what a lot of the millennials think.
Well, you're not going to pay off the college loans with Social Security in any case.
old candidates,
But
young
they're not going to
candidates.
save money to retire. paying off their student loan debt.
A state of panic is where we come out no matter what. That's our time for today. We'll see if these Republican veterans have time left for the ultimate political prize. Thanks to our panelists, Todd Seavey, Anders Kaur, Heather Woodfield, Melody Brooks. I'm Jonathan Funk. Stick with BEN, where jobs come first. We'll see you next time on The Run.